In this presentation, we'll discuss worldviews. We all have perspectives on the world, or worldviews. These are ways of perceiving and understanding the world. Worldviews influence thoughts and actions. Worldviews are informed by our experience, our cultural context, and by our tools. The philosophical term for these perspectives of our place in and perspective on the world is called an ontology. Ontologies reflect our understandings of the world and our place in it. Our worldviews influence our attitudes about issues large and small, and, in turn, these views guide our actions, including our creative practices. Yuk Hui was a person who grew up in Hong Kong, a place where the intersection of different cultures came together. And he wrote a book about how different perspectives on the world influenced technological development in Eastern and Western civilization. In this book, he asks the question, if one admits that there are multiple human natures, is it possible to think of multiple techniques, which are different from each other, not simply functionally and aesthetically, but also ontologically and cosmologically? As an example of different technologies, he cites the difference between writing systems, the development of Chinese calligraphy and the Latin alphabet. Calligraphy being a system that privileges realities in the world, characters represent natural things, whereas letters in the alphabet represent abstract human sounds. The cycle of influence between actions and worldviews is circular. Our views are influenced by our experiences and cultural traditions. Our actions can reinforce these traditions, or they can open up new pathways for thinking and expressing. As we have new experiences, we're exposed to new ideas, or think and imagine new possibilities. Our worldview can develop and change. As makers of experiences for others, it's also possible that we can influence their worldview through engagement with our projects. Understanding that our actions, as artists and designers, have an influence on how others think and act also extends to the influence our worldviews have on the world more generally. Tony Fry is a designer who is concerned with environmental sustainability and design. In particular, he made the point that all design has future implications, but lamented that designers are not sufficiently aware of the negative impacts of their designs, that their worldviews were limited with respect to their relationships with other living systems. This lack of awareness created a tendency for what he termed defuturing. Fry wrote, "The basic proposition of defuturing, as a practical philosophy, is that unless you know how to identify the ongoing designing of the defutured, which implicates both yourself and your object of engagement, then you are in no position to create solutions." His perspective was that as creative people, we design the future, and therefore our creative decisions are influential on the world. He also presented the argument in the negative, being concerned that most creative practice was defuturing, limiting or harming the future of the environment and ourselves. But put positively, if our worldview includes an awareness of interconnectedness with all living things, then our actions will seek to sustain those things and ourselves. Fry understood that everyone has a worldview, and that at heart, creative practices such as art and design were an ontological concern. Our creative practices emerge from our worldview, which is an inescapable driver of our decisions. His recommendation, following Martin Heidegger, is that being aware of the implications of our worldview provides the best way to avoid falling foul of its worst effects.